Wait, since when did GEEGA have arms? What do you mean? What? What is the wording of that question? I thought you only had legs. Huh? You're a VTube model? Did my arm... What? I thought it was just a head and shoulders type. No one has models that are like heads and shoulders only. Maybe you don't know that, that's fine. But like, no one has it. Everyone has full body. Some people have half body where it goes down to a little below the waist. Like sometimes the hands are kind of cut off, but you still have arms, right? But there's like nobody that has just like shoulders up. Half body models aren't really as much of a thing anymore. They used to be more of a thing because they unironically they would cost like way less. Not that much less, but they, you know, enough less. So people would get half body models so that they didn't have to pay for like getting drawn and rigged legs and everything. There were plenty of people that would do that. My first model was like that. But even then, it still went down to like a bit below the waistline area. Gotta pay the toe tax. A lot of people get them so that they're not rigged below the waist at all. Like the natural waist and up gets rigged, and then everything else below that, there's just no movement. And it saves on rigging hours because they're like, well, never gonna use it. So you can. But I feel like the base rig costs enough. It's the facial expressions and everything, and like all the upper body stuff and like hair physics that take the most time. So I feel like getting that extra stuff doesn't really cost that much more. The legs are easy to draw compared to the face, all of that. So I think it doesn't really save that much, which is why people kind of stopped being like, oh, I'll just get a half body model for cheap, because it really didn't change the cost a lot. Does your first model still work? Yeah, there's no reason why it wouldn't. All the tech is the same as it used to be for 2D. Everyone still uses VTube Studio. If you were a VTuber before like 2020, you might have used Face Rig instead of VTube Studio. But even then, models were still rigged using a program called Live 2D, which is separate from VTube Studio. So you have art, you draw it, you use like Photoshop to create layers with it. So all the different things that need to move are on different layers, right? Then you put it into the program Live 2D, and that lets you take those layers and create animations and like what they should look like. And then you export that file. Now you have like a rigged file, something that has animations. Then you put it into something like VTube Studio where you can actually set up a phone to do tracking and then liken those animations to tracking. So those are separate things. So VTube Studio came out, I think 2020, and since then everyone has been using it for 2D for the most part, and it has not changed. So anyone who had a model 2020 and later that was 2D almost definitely could still use their model. It's like super rare that there's a reason why they can't, unless they're using another program, but almost nobody uses other programs. Only big corpos, some of them have their big proprietary software, but it's usually not as good as VTube Studio, so most real cost effective is Sock Puppet. I think more people should just stream with Sock Puppets. Like, what's the point in getting a model anymore? Let's use the damn Sock Puppet, man. It's time. You have to listen to a hamster drawing instead of an anime girl. You can take literally any picture or art, like any JPEG, any PNG, anything, and put it in Live 2D and rig it. So there are some people that have rigged like real pictures of people's faces to move like models in 2D, and it's really cursed. Brian, who owns Iron Vertex, he's made some really cursed models off of images. You want to be a rhododendron VTuber? Honestly, you could make that go really hard. You could. There's a lot you can do with that kind of stuff. Most popular models is the worm. Oh yeah, you don't need like a conventionally attractive or really nice model. It just needs to like be something people like. I talked about this yesterday. I did a Q&A/seminar thing in the VTuber Creator Club again, and you know, let people ask questions and then just kind of compiled them and went over a bunch of stuff. And one of the things that I said in there that like, I don't know how to say this anyway other than really bluntly, a lot of people's issue with their streams, like there are other issues, whatever, but like one of the main issues for a lot of VTubers is that their model isn't right. It's just not right. And what I mean by that is like, maybe the art style just doesn't look that great in a rigged model. Like that artist might be really good at drawing something that stays not moving, but then when you rig it, it doesn't turn out that well. Maybe the art was fine, but the rig didn't really do the art justice. Sometimes like the proportions of the face are off, it turns and it's just like not quite right. And then that just means that when people watch, they can't stop noticing that instead of like paying attention to the content you're trying to make, you know? Stuff like that. It could be that it doesn't fit your personality or voice very well. It doesn't need to fit perfectly, but like it can be really off. That could throw people off because they come into your chat, they see a thing on the screen, they start interacting with the thing they see because it's a representation of you, and they think like, well, if it looks like this, then I must be able to interact with it this way, and that makes sense. And then they get something else, and that's like a point of friction, and just points of friction are what get people leaving streams, right? Sometimes it's something like you've done way too much, like you've got this super involved model. You spent all this money on it. You have like this crazy brand and you want people to care about it, but they're just like, can you play the game already? And they literally don't care, you know? When I was explaining it, some people were like, oh, do you mean the model needs to be conventionally attractive? And I was like, no, not necessarily. And I gave the example of Kenji. I was like, look at Kenji's model, the like scuffed one that he uses all the time, especially when he's doing like react videos. It looks like shit on purpose. He made it himself. It works so well. It works so well because when you look at it, it's funny. It's the way like South Park characters look funny, the way they move and stuff, right? Yeah, it looks like a Muppet. It's just funny. It looks bad. It's not rigged that well. You know, it's not conventionally attractive. It doesn't have any of those qualities, but it's funny. And it fits his voice and the type of content he's making, right? So that's what I was kind of like explaining to people. I was like, the important thing is just that what people see when they first click, they should get something that makes sense. It doesn't have to be like a perfect fit, but it just has to be along those lines enough that it doesn't confuse them. So if they click on your stream and you've got this like really sweet looking model, like it has like a nice face, it looks like calming and beautiful, and then everything you talk about is like really crass and awful, and you know, like it can be jarring for some people. That could also be, depending on how you do it, that could be the appeal. It just depends, and you just need to hit like the right amount of dichotomy, or the right, it either has to match or it has to be like the right amount of different, or you know, like there are different things that could work, but whatever it is, it just has to be right? And that's that. I feel like a lot of people just kind of miss the mark on those sorts of things. I feel like a lot of people make a lot of mistakes with their model choice in that kind of way. And a lot of the questions I was getting were about like what makes a model good or bad, and I was like, I think a lot of you are just kind of focusing on the wrong thing here, you know? It's kind of where that whole discussion came from yesterday. Yeah, Turtle, a lot of people do. A lot of people, like, they think, because let's be real, if you started VTubing in 2020, there weren't that many people actively streaming and that had like real models, so you had the first mover's advantage. If you streamed at that time as a VTuber, you were gonna make it to an extent. Like, it was gonna work out for you, at least a little bit, for some time, because there wasn't a lot of competition, right? There wasn't a lot of comparison points, and there just wasn't a lot of people available to watch, so everyone kind of settled on the same people. So you can't look at things that happened at that time and be like, oh, this is the blueprint, this is what you should do, because it was very different. And not just that, you know, seeing so many people try it and so many of them have it work out to at least get a like Twitch partner for a lot of them, I think that made people that came in later to try and be VTubers look at it and be like, oh, it's easy. Like, if you get a model and you stream, it'll work out. Not realizing that it was just like a very, very, very low saturation point. There were a lot of new viewers and very few VTubers streaming, you know? So like everyone got a piece of the pie kind of thing. I think that puts them in the wrong headspace. So yeah, they think it'll like just work, but it's not like that anymore.